I want to welcome everyone. We are going to start in a few moments and ask everyone else also to mute. You are actually here. Let me see what some of you are on Zoom. Welcome. Many of you are on Facebook and on Clubhouse. So what we are doing now, obviously you on Clubhouse, if I show a video, which I won't be showing much more of those, you won't be able to see, but you will be able to hear our esteemed guest, Pastor Corey Brooks of Project H.O.O.D and New Beginnings Church in Chicago. We're going to start in just a couple of moments again. So those of you on Clubhouse, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please ping your friends, ping your neighbors. Those of you on Facebook, please like and share this page as well. This is a little bit of a different IBSI online today in that we are having a conversation, kind of an interview, fireside chat. I don't have the fireside like Brother Pastor Corey did, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But we're going to have a chat here today. So I want you to, let me make sure that I get the moderators here. Mr. Moderator there, all right. And son Joshua's on call there, all right. So now, again, if you are whatever platform that you are following us, if you're there, hey, on Instagram, hey, Instagram, great to see you guys there. Hello, Miss Kristen out there. Love you all out there in Stockton, California. She's Gatekeepers, Ely Abram online as well. Please, you all like this video. I don't know how exactly you're supposed to share it on Instagram. I always forget about that. But please join us, I promise you, this is going to be a very, very powerful conversation. We're going to be talking about Black Jewish synergy. We're going to be talking about the work Pastor Corey Brooks is doing with Project H.O.O.D. Their H.O.O.D, which stands for Helping Others Obtain Destiny. He'll say something about that. We're going to let him talk here on today. So it's going to be a very, very powerful conversation. So I just want to welcome you all here. Those of you who are there if you're on Clubhouse, so glad that you are here. Please, again, ping your friends and neighbors. Those of you who are in the video medium, particularly on Zoom, if you're in the room with us, and on Facebook, you can see if I show a picture or something like that, you'll see Pastor Brooks. He's there on the rooftop. He's going to tell us where he is, everything like that, so he'll know, so you all will know. If you are on Clubhouse, again, we're glad that you're here. It's just that one thing is that you may not see this last little video promo I'm going to do here before I get started. I want you to know about a couple of different things. Number one, IBSI is a fundraiser itself this Black History Month, 100K in 28 days. Thank you all so much, our donors. You've already given over $11,000 just in barely 6 days. We thank you so much for your generosity. But we also hear Pastor Corey Brooks, who's in a fundraiser of his own in Chicago as they are raising money to build a new community center. So those of you who are here, particularly Instagram and Clubhouse, you're going to hear a little audio right here behind me while I'm sitting here, but you won't see the video. If you want to check out this video, about a minute long, I'm going to show this promo video real quick. If you want to check it out, you can check out our IBSI, Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel Facebook fan page. You'll see the video there. You can pull that up on your phone as well. That's the beauty of being there on all those multiple mediums on your phone. And then, of course, those of you on Instagram, you can't see it on here, but again, you will hear this. But you can also, if you have a Facebook account, you can do that as well. All right. So give me one more minute. We're going to get started.
During Black History Month, the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel will lead a special fundraising campaign to help us continue the work of strengthening the Black Jewish Africa-Israel Alliance. 100K,
$100,000.
100K in 28 days. Our focus is IBSI's Content and Speakers Bureau.
We can only be successful with your help, and you can help us in 3 ways.
1, like this video on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
2, share this video with your friends and colleagues.
3, give a tax-deductible donation. Any amount helps us reach our goal. As a special thank you, we have amazing gifts for various donor levels, which include an audiobook and an autographed hardback edition of Zionism in the Black Church. From all of us at IBSI,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So again, you can go to our website, ibsi-now.org, ibsi-now.org, and you can get more information there. I want to welcome our very, very special guest. And Josh, I don't know if you saw that, if you can spotlight, if you saw that, if you know a little note that I had on there, make sure that everyone, I can't see the streaming on Facebook, so I know that you can see that. So staff, make sure that you are keeping me posted, because I don't want to mess up. That's why I have a staff around me, because I'll mess stuff up. And I thank God for each and every one of them. Pastor Corey Brooks, Chicago. It's great to have you here, sir. How you doing?
I'm great. How about yourself? Thank you.
I'm doing good, sir. Doing good. Good to see you. I know it's been a few weeks or maybe a couple of months. I was out there hanging out with you on the rooftop there in Chicago. It hadn't started snowing yet. I've noticed that it snowed a few times since you've been out there, Pastor. So how you holding up out there?
Oh, I'm holding up. We're it's cold. You know, we're holding up under the snow. Can you turn yours off? I'm trying to get the sound right.
Hey, yes, sir. No, you do your thing. You do it. We're impromptu here, or I should say we're informal here, and we're setting it up and everything. We got different mediums. So once again, those of you who have joined us on Clubhouse, welcome. So glad that you could be with us. We had a great discussion on yesterday. Actually, yesterday we talked about the whole Whoopi Goldberg controversy, and I didn't realize this on Clubhouse. I hadn't been on in a while. It actually stores it and saves it. So we're on the Zionism Forward Clubhouse club, if you will. Shout out to our friends there. Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel just started its own club on yesterday. We were unable to do it for the longest, but somehow I tried it and boom, it happened. So we did start on there, so you can join that club as well. Instagram, so glad to have you guys here. Again, Facebook, we're going to ask you guys to share. Please like, share. You do not want to miss this conversation. Yeah, you can hear it on a recording, but you're going to want to hear it live, right? And we may even take some Q&A. Generally, with our IBSI Online, we have a speaker who will come. They'll give a presentation, they'll do some Q&A. But this way, what we wanted to do this time is really have a conversation and almost like interview style. We have some conversations with Pastor Corey Brooks. He is the pastor of New Beginnings Church in Chicago. He's also the CEO of Project H.O.O.D, which stands for Helping Others Obtain Destiny. They have been doing transformative work there in what I believe the Chicago Sun-Times at some point called the most dangerous block in Chicago. Do I have that right, Pastor Corey?
Yeah, the Chicago Sun-Times wrote an article, said that we were the most dangerous block in Chicago in 2013 or 14.
Some of you may know Pastor Corey Brooks is ready in his writings and his speaking. You may as well. He also has an ongoing series on Fox News, the national Fox News, in which he does what's called Rooftop Revelations, as well as some other commentary that he provides. We're going to share the links for those for you there in the chat, both there in on our Zoom chat, but also on the Facebook as well, so that you can see and be following this man of God there in Chicago. I met Pastor Corey Brooks actually via text and email several years ago by our mutual friends in the Jewish community there, Mr. Paul Miller, who is a journalist, and a couple of others who are part of the Chaim Salman Center. I believe I'm saying that correct. And they connected me with Pastor Brooks to let me know about the work that he was doing, and was actually, this is while I was on staff with Christians United for Israel, served for nearly 7 years. And we were planning on taking him to Israel with us. We weren't able to make that happen at the time, but I believe that's going to happen here sometime in the near future. We'll be able to go to the Holy Land together. We'll get into that a little bit as well. Pastor Corey Brooks has been pastoring there. Pastor, how long have you been pastoring again there at New Beginnings Church, sir? Oh, audio dropped out, Pastor. Me.
I'm sorry. I've been there 22 years now.
22 years. And Pastor, are you from Chicago? Is that where you're born and raised?
No, I'm from Muncie, Indiana, a little small town in Indiana, which is about 3.5 hours from Chicago.
Okay. And Pastor, when did your family move to Chicago? When did you get there?
We've been in Chicago for 27 years now. When I first moved to Chicago, I pastored a church on the south side on 35th and Cottage Grove. And after 5 years there, we decided we wanted to do something different, something new. So we started New Beginnings Church to reach a whole different crowd of people. And that's been our focus since we've been in Chicago.
Pastor Brooks, could you tell the people, and I know you tell the story quite a bit and you've been interviewed so many different times, but for our new audience who may be introduced to you for the first time, tell them how you got the name Rooftop Pastor.
Oh, absolutely. So I got the name Rooftop Pastor after a funeral of a young man named Carlton Archer, who was 16 years old. He was shot and killed. His parents had this funeral at our church, and two things happened that day. As the kids from his neighborhood were coming into our neighborhood, the kids in our neighborhood started shooting at them because they were from a rival gang. Thankfully, no one was shot and hurt. We were finally able to get things calmed down. And at the end of that funeral, something happened that had never happened before. I really felt the nudge of the Lord telling me that there were individuals who brought guns into the church illegally, and I need to get them. So I made an announcement, hey, I need y'all to turn those guns in today. Anybody who turns in their gun, no questions asked, no arrest. The sergeant agreed on right there on the spot to have a gun turn in, which you can do in Chicago. And I said a prayer, and at first it was just total quiet. Nobody said anything, and I thought, man, I made a big mistake. I looked dumb. But all of a sudden, the young brother stood up with a 9mm, and on that day, 4 guns were turned in. And I made a vow right there to God, whatever you want me to do from this point on in this neighborhood as it relates to violence and gangs and poverty, I'm all in. We were working, but we hadn't really focused on gangs as much. And as I was walking out the door of that funeral, and I looked across the street at the hotel where it had been prostitution, sex trafficking, gangs, or using it for drugs and all kind of criminal activity. That same nudge of the Holy Spirit that I felt inside the funeral, I felt again, telling me go up on top of the roof of that motel and stay there till I raise enough money to purchase it and tear it down and start trying to build a community center. So I went on top of the roof of that motel. I stuck up there 3 days later, and refused to come down. And I ended up staying there for 94 days to raise enough money to purchase that motel. And we eventually tore it down. And now I'm on the hotel. I'm on a makeshift building that we put together for the 10th year anniversary. In this tent, as you can see, staying for 100 days, not to tear something down, but to build something up. We're building a community center. And instead of me doing it alone, like I did the first time, we got CEOs, influencers, pastors. You've been on here, stayed all night, and people from around the country who stay all night on the rooftop. And that's how I got called the Rooftop Pastor.
If any of you know, have been following the work of Brother King Randall, young man down there in Georgia. He was just a couple of weeks ago, maybe, Pastor. He was out there with you as well, bringing awareness. Yeah. But King Randall started a charter school for young men down there in Georgia and everything. So how was that, Pastor?
Oh, man, King Randall, it lets you know that the future is in good hands when you got brothers like King Randall. Who was phenomenal, was doing a great job with those little boys in Georgia. And we're going to try to assist him and give him as much help as possible. But it was a great time, a great experience, great conversation. Anytime you get to talk with visionaries, especially young brothers who have a vision and who have a compassion and a heart to help people, it's always a great conversation. And so I appreciated it. And I'm sure if your audience does not know him, now they will, because that's just the type of leader that he is.
If you all don't already know King Randall, make sure you look up that name, Google that name as well. Young brother, like I said, doing some amazing work. And he came and lent his voice there with Pastor Corey Brooks as well, as Pastor Corey Brooks is on the rooftop there again in Chicago. Again, the leader of Project H.O.O.D. And we put the link in there. Make sure that you go to Project H.O.O.D. You can get even more detailed information. And IBSI leaders, IBSI followers, and well-wishers and everything, we want you all to know much about what he's doing and help. So they're raising funds. They are in the quest of raising $35 million to build a new community center. Pastor Corey, last time you gave an update, you all have raised several million, sir.
Yeah, so we're at 8 million with cash, in-kind gifts, and commitments, and so we need about 27 million more. But I tell people we're $8 million better off than we were on November 20th. So we are very appreciative, and we're humbled that people have been contributing from all across America and from all different walks of life. They've been a tremendous blessing. So I'm so appreciative, but I'm believing God. for the rest of it, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And we along with you, Pastor Corey. Now, some of you watch, if you're wondering, what is this sounds powerful. How does this connect with Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel? Some of you who've been following, you know, even as I talked to you about Pastor Corey books before, you've seen it in the email and also some of the Instagram lives that I did while I was there in Chicago with Pastor Corey. We're going to get into that a little bit more in terms of the whole P.E.A.C.E initiative, what we do, and our partners on the ground. P.E.A.C.E for IBSI stands for Plan for Education, Advocacy, and Community Engagement, in which we do work on the ground. We partner with pastors and community leaders like Pastor Corey Brooks and what they're doing. And we come alongside with our IBSI ambassadors. We'll get into that and we ask, what can we do to help? How can we serve? How can we even continue to strengthen that alliance that's already there? Often when we talk about the Black Jewish Alliance, that goes back over 100 years, ladies and gentlemen, with Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald during the Civil Rights Movement with Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel and the Jewish community. And that's not an exclusion of other ethnic groups. That's not what IBSI does at all. What we do is we emphasize this relationship for many different reasons. One of those is because it has been such a powerful synergy for over a century in this nation, but also number two, that when the Black and Jewish communities come together, they've affected change for people of all ethnic backgrounds, everyone, in a very, very positive and powerful way. And so this is part of the reason why, again, we want to be able to be a part. When I was there with Pastor Corey, our mutual friend, Peggy Shapiro, who is the head of Stand With Us Midwest, she met us there with one of the Israeli officials there from the consulate. They came. Again, Pastor Corey has already had deep ties with the Jewish community. They worked together in the past. This is how we actually met. Pastor Corey, again, we were introduced that way from the people at the Chaim Salman Center. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that relationship, whether it was Paul Miller or whoever it was, how that got started and how that connection even may have happened, sir?
Yeah, so I've always had a connection with Israel and always been in 100% of Israel from the time I was a young guy in seminary, 23 years old. And over time, I've tried to build relationships, whether it would be with some of the different rabbis or not in the city. And so the endeavor with Paul and with Stand With Us as well has just developed over time. And it's a relationship that I hope to blossom into greater things. But it's been a blessing so far. It's opened up the door of me meeting so many other people. And like you said, I haven't made it to Israel yet, but I'm definitely on my way, and I definitely want to take a group of people to Israel with me. But I'm a full supporter of Israel and the programs and the other non-for-profits and organizations that are helping Israel. And that's one of the reasons why I'm on here tonight.
We got your ticket punched already, Pastor. So when you're ready to go with IBSI, we're gonna be ready to head out and everything. So
yes, sir.
Got your seat reserved, sir. Pastor, I wanna delve in here. First of all, a couple of things, but first of all, tell the people some of what Project H.O.O.D does. I had the many wonderful things I had the opportunity to do when I was with you a couple of months ago, sir. One of the gentlemen that I met that actually kind of drove us around a little bit. He drove us down, let us see some of the sites and everything. He began to tell us how Project H.O.O.D and Pastor Corey Brooks turned his life around, right? I guess he's an electrician now. He's raising his sons and everything. And he attributes that to what God did through Pastor Brooks and Project H.O.O.D. That was just one example. We just had a brief conversation in his car. Tell us a little bit about the work of Project H.O.O.D.
Sure, thank you. Project H.O.O.D is about helping people transform their lives. Our initiative is to eradicate violence and poverty. But in order to do that, we have to help transform the lives of people. So we have a lot of programs that are focused on life change. We try to take guys who are in gangs and teach them how to transition their lives from to carrying guns to using hammers and nails and not shooting guns. We try to teach them through construction trades, and then whether that be carpentry, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and even automotive when we build the center. But all of these are things that we use to get them on the right track. Not only do we offer the trades, but we have for culinary arts as well, hospitality and culinary arts, where we teach people how to work in restaurants and cooking. We have the trauma counseling, where we provide free counseling for grief counseling and people who have been impacted by violence. We have a violence prevention team that of 14 employees that their only job is to stop the violence in our neighborhood, whether it's intervention or stop the retaliation, but also communication with conflict resolution. We're very, very excited about all the programs that we do, especially our mentoring program, where we try to mentor young boys from the ages of 6 all the way up to 18, giving them a male mentor to help some of our single parents in our neighborhood. 80% of the households in our neighborhood are single parent households. So it's imperative that we have some brothers to come alongside and help these sisters who are struggling oftentimes to raise these boys. And then we have an alternative high school as well, the 16 to 21-year-olds. Most of them have gotten kicked out of Chicago public schools, but we have this school for them to give them an alternative and give them more options and an opportunity so they can graduate and head down the path of getting a career. And so those are just some of the things that we do in the neighborhood, but it's all focused around transformation. It's all focused around getting people out of poverty and helping them to get on their feet, teaching them how to fish so that they're not dependent upon anybody but God. And so that's what we really aim to do. And that's what we have really been doing well. We have so many young guys and so many brothers who have gotten out of prison who now even work for us and who are now part of our staff. So we're really thankful and proud of that. But most of all, the best thing that we do is just help people change their lives.
Now, Pastor, of the things that you just touched on, all of them extremely powerful. I heard some of the themes that we've discussed and some of the themes that are recurring for you. And I want you to touch, you talked about education.
Yes.
You talked about family, fatherhood, right? And then, of course, entrepreneurship in terms of businesses, construct that type of thing. Pastor, those three things, right? Education, of course, God, all in the midst of it. You are a pastor, you preach the word. So we know that I'm all my Christians, you didn't mention God. Yes, of course, God.
That's a
gift. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So he's a man of God, preaches the word and all the things. He's standing on God's word. He's operating in the spirit of God. And here's what's happening. Again, education, not necessarily in this order, but just education, family, talk about fathers being there with the family, and then also businesses, trade, entrepreneurialism, so those types of things. Pastor, why are those things recurring themes for you in terms of the work that you are doing and the transformation that you're seeing?
Absolutely. Great question. When we look at our neighborhood and we look at all the things that are causing these problems, I tell people all the time that racism is an issue, but racism is not the biggest issue that we face on the south side of Chicago, nor is it the biggest issue that we face in most urban centers across America. The issues that we face are ones that you just talked about, like education. It's in our neighborhood at our 2 elementary schools that are close to us. They have a 4% proficiency reading level, a 6% proficiency in math. That's an educational problem. So we really focus on education and trying to change the tide of that. Most of the stores in our neighborhood are not ran by individuals who look like us. And so businesses are not, we don't have a lot of business, which means that they're not hiring from the neighborhood. They're not giving people jobs from the neighborhood. And so we don't have a strong economic base. So it's imperative that we teach people how to start businesses, not just local businesses, but the internet opens it up to have global businesses. So we really work hard on entrepreneurship so that we can pull people out of poverty so that they're not dependent on government or anyone else, but they learn how to use the gifts, skills, tools, and abilities that God has given them to enhance their own lives. So we do entrepreneurship, we do education. And then, of course, we talked about the mentorship and, providing those services. So it's all about giving people all the tools that they need to transform their life, because we believe that these issues, these big issues, the fatherlessness, these issues are some of the things that's driving the poverty and some of the things that's driving the violence.
And then the mentorship, of course, Pastor, you mentioned again, is particularly when it comes to the older men mentoring these young men who don't have fathers. As you were saying, I believe you were saying 80% in your neighborhood, 80% of those young Black men do not have fathers, correct?
Correct. 80% or more. Absolutely. They don't have fathers, and it becomes imperative that we hook them up with wise thinking, logical thinking brothers who can help them to navigate decisions and choices in life. Because lots of times, most times, they don't have that to depend on. They don't have people to lead them and guide them. And that's one of the reasons why we see so much chaos and violence and hostility and anger from these young brothers, because they don't have men pouring into them who love them, not abusing them and preying on them, but genuinely love them, genuinely trying to lead them in the right direction. Young brothers need that from a man. And no matter what we say, their mothers can't give them that. Their mothers can love them, can nurture them, can sometimes provide for them, but there's just some things that only a man can do when it comes to young boys, and when it comes to young girls as well. They need both sides. They need the male and they need the female. They need the mother and the father. And so we try to provide great positive mentors in the lives of people. Even our older guys need great mentors. And that's what we try to provide, make sure that they have, regardless of what age they are.
Pastor, you're touching on some timeless things, and everyone who's listening, again, one of the reasons why we're having this conversation, one of the reasons why IBSI reaches out to leaders like Pastor Corey Brooks, whether they're religious leaders or other community leaders, with this type of mindset in terms of strengthening the community, is because what we often find is that our Jewish brothers and sisters are more than willing to help and to do in the Black community and other areas where it's needed. But there are times when, whether it's the Jewish community or others, are distracted by other things that seem to be a help, but are not. So Pastor, one thing I love about Pastor Brooks, not just the work, he walks the walk and talks the talk. See what I'm saying? So what I mean by that is that what you hear him explain is what they're actually doing. He's seeing lives transformed by addressing things like education and entrepreneurship and mentoring and families and strengthening, because he knows that those things are timeless, right? And he knows that those things break cycles. They break cycles of violence, right. They break cycles of lack of opportunity, all of those things. And he started his last commentary, ladies and gentlemen, by saying that racism is an issue, just like any type of hatred and discrimination, whatever it is, anti-Semitism, anti-Black racism, anti-Asian violence, any of those types of things, they are issues because people are bad and they're broken, right? However, he said, this is not the key issue, and he listed several different things. Pastor Corey, we know what you are saying is true. Stats have proven that it's true. It is not racism that is the cause of what's going on, whether it's in Oakland, whether it's Chicago, whether it's New Orleans. Is racism there? Yes, it's there, but it is not the key factor. When you bring that message, Pastor Corey, we're going to go further here. What response do you get depending on who the audience or who the people are listening? Come on, let's talk about it.
Hey, well, that's a great question. Today, I had two young brothers here in their early 30s, mid 30s, both of them law school graduates, both of them from the hood, both of them highly intelligent. One of them is up for a really high judgeship. I won't say what, because they'll figure out who this is. But we debated and discussed that very issue. Here, and I was trying to explain to them that here you have these two guys who are highly intellectual, who are very successful, and they're still arguing that racism is holding them back. And I'm telling them, how could you make such an argument? Because it's obvious that your gifts, skills, intellects, and abilities have provided for you, and no amount of race is stopping you from achieving. But that's a hard sell, because when we've been indoctrinated for so long as a people, from one point of view, and I was even told that my point of view is a sellout point of view, and I beg to differ, but not, and I try to explain to them how I believe that when they buy into that racism is the order of the day, that's the sellout view, because what we're doing then is we're trying to make excuses for our lack of not achieving or asking someone to lower a standard. And that's definitely not what we need. We need to keep standards high. We need to keep excellence high. And at no time, in my opinion, should we continue to keep looking back, trying to go forward. We have to move in a more positive direction. We have to do that collectively, and we cannot allow that idea that racism is Black folks' biggest problem to keep us from achieving. It is not our biggest problem. There are so many issues that we have beyond racism.
Pastor Corey, one of the conversations that we've had both together, and then I've seen you discuss on this, because this brings us obviously to the issue of Black Lives Matter, which ideology is the polar opposite of what you are saying, that not only is racism the number one most all-encompassing issue that any Black, especially Black man, will ever face, but those things like education, that's secondary, family, nuclear family, that's secondary. Even they're anti-capitalist. In other words, an entrepreneur, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you know this already, an entrepreneur is someone who engages in capitalism by virtue of the fact that he or she owns a business and dealing with capital. Black Lives Matter, all three of those things, and there's more than that, and they thumbs down on each one of those things, Pastor Corey, and you have go ahead, yes, sir.
Yeah, they're anti-family as well, the nuclear family.
Yes,
there's
sir.
so many things that Black Lives Matter is not, is in my opinion, is not beneficial for the Black family or America. And I think here recently, people are starting to recognize that and see it for what it is. The same thing that Booker T. Washington said years ago, that there are Blacks, there are people who make money, their livelihood is made off of the pain and the struggle and the hardships of Blacks. And so for them to continue to promote that and need that, it's because it's used for their money making. And that's been proven, especially when you see Black Lives Matter has millions of dollars. It's believed over 60 million unaccounted for. And that's unfortunate, especially when there's so many grassroots organizations that need funding, that need the help. And so many people in all of these urban areas that need the assistance. But then you have an organization like Black Lives Matter, who is really not interested in Black lives, but interested in pushing an agenda that is not beneficial for us and raising money in the process to do it. And I totally, and our organization is totally opposite of everything that they are.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the many reasons why this part of it is so important, there's many different reasons. We're going to continue to unpack this. Neither Pastor Corey nor Pastor Dumisani are here. This forum is not here to let's gang up on Black Lives Matter. That's not the point, but we are addressing it because it is an issue. It is a huge issue. We talked about that from the context of what Pastor Corey was just saying when it comes to what we're talking about, disenfranchised Black communities, when it comes to education, when it comes to family, when it comes to entrepreneurship. And so when you have an organization like a Black Lives Matter raising tens of millions of dollars on the complete opposite end of those issues, it is very clear that their concern is not actually helping the Black community, but as I said in Dr. Booker T. Washington's words, keeping the woes of the Black community in front of everybody. He said, because as he was just saying, because they don't want to lose their jobs. $90 million raised in 2020 alone. Not only that, it was just reported the other day that they bought some other $1 million mansion somewhere in Canada, I believe it is, right? And so again, right, all this money going to not only that in terms of the money, Black Lives Matter chapters, at least 12, the last time we counted, maybe more than that a few months ago, that actually are asking for an accounting of money. Even the chapter is not receiving money. So when you have an organization that has a Black face and says, we are concerned about the Black community, but then raises money and is not concerned about these very deep infrastructural needs in the Black community, we will call it out. Lastly, right, and we're going to Pastor Corey continue to talk from the context of Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. Black Lives Matter is also anti-Israel. Not only is it not concerned about the internal building up of the Black community, it then brings in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which further has nothing to do with what's going on in South Chicago, nothing to do with what's going on in Oakland, nothing to do with what's going on in Ferguson, and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, now you have a group not only raising money, acting like it's helping the Black community, it's actually now using the Black community for anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, that whole
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the danger. Go ahead, Pastor Corey. Let me hear you. How do you feel in
No,
terms of what
no.
you're saying? Yes, sir.
No, you said it best. I think you said it right. There are organizations that will opt out Black pain to push another agenda. And that's exactly what I was going to say, that we have to be cognizant of. Not only are they not beneficial for the Black community and grassroots things in our community, but they are anti-Israel, and so, the anti-Semitism, design, all of that stuff, people need to know that, because there are people who gave millions of dollars to these organizations, and they just didn't do good research, or they didn't do enough due diligence as it relates to other places they could have placed their funds. And it's very unfortunate, because now these same individuals, like you said, have these funds, and nobody knows where those funds are. They're unaccounted for.
Pastor
They
Corey,
could be in Palestine for all we know.
for all we know, right? And Pastor Corey, he's more diplomatic than me. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little stream. I'm going a little bit further here and everything, and like this. One of the things we talk about often with Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, and we were connecting the Black and Jewish community when we're doing work in the community, when we're talking to pastors and leaders, that there are people who will bring up Black Lives Matter as a group because they believe that it's helping the Black community. We'll have to explain it to them. And ladies and gentlemen, this didn't start in 2020. We've been telling the truth about BLM since 2014, right? So this is not new for us. We've been discussing this for a while, right? So here's the thing. Not only will that happen, what we'll find, and this is for all of us that are listening here, gather around, children's gather around. There's a difference between, I love my wife. My wife used to say it like this, because she learned it from her mother. My mother's wife, my mother-in-law is a chef. She owned restaurants and everything. And so whatever happened was, when she would cook, she gets down, right? And so she taught my wife too. She knows how to do it. And so every once in a while, you have a guest in the house, right? And they want to help, right? Can I help do something? Can I help do something, right? And what Valerie, my wife, learned to do from her mom and learn how to cook, she learned how to do the menial tasks. Wash that thing, cut those things, put that over there. Oftentimes, they want to help do the other thing. Can I cook this? Can I turn on this? And now you're not ready for that. What we find is that too many times when people want to quote unquote help, they want to help the way they want to help, right? They have in their mind what help looks like. And for so many who would not, some in very good places in terms of their hearts might be in the right place, but some will reach out and say, how can we quote unquote help the Black community? And the first thing they want to do is get a BLM sign, a t-shirt, start marching all over the place. Again, you could do that, right? Or you could spend your time doing something helpful. And what our organization would do is connect them with other organizations. Most of the time it goes well, Pastor Corey, but every once in a while, I'll never forget, about a year or two ago, somebody reached out to us. I want to help. I want to do, I heard you a Black organization. You stand with Israel, blah, 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 and the other. And they brought up Black Lives Matter. I said, no, we don't really, I'm a prep. We don't really rock with Black Lives Matter. Is why. And they got upset. We didn't know you was a right-wing organization. I said, wow. When we told that person why we were not aligned with Black Lives Matter, up and even into its anti-Semitism, you know what they want to do, Pastor Corey? They said, oh, I wanted to march. I started saying, woman, you can march, you can march wherever you live. Just start marching up and down the street. Do you want to help or do you want to march? See, they think about 1963 March on Washington. That was 53 something years ago, y'all. That's a time and place for marching, and there's a time and place to go help somebody who's doing the work. This is what Pastor Corey Brooks. Go ahead, Pastor. I'll let you say something, sir.
Oh no, I was agreeing with you. If I was at church, I would have said amen.
Pastor Corey, one of the things that we had done, it was amazing. I remember, and I'm gonna put her on Front Street now. She don't like this. She don't like to be in the front. But I remember Peggy Shapiro contacted me. 2020, George Floyd. We know that happens right there in Minneapolis, right? And by the time you get later on in May, And in June, there's cities that are going through it. And you have Black Lives Matter. Some are legit protests, right? They're bringing more awareness and everything. And some of them become very violent. They become very destructive. You know, Pastor Corey, there are parts of Chicago that got very much damaged, just like Minneapolis, just like some other cities and everything. And after that, my friend Peggy Shapiro, one of the leaders of the Jewish community there, actually got a group of her friends together, got a big old moving van, I guess, filled it up with goods from the store, because some of the local stores, Pastor Corey, as you know, were destroyed. There was no more Rite Aid, there was no more grocery, nothing like that. Mothers got up that next morning after the devastation of justice for George Floyd. What justice for George Floyd, I'm in air quotes for those of you on a Clubhouse who can't see my hands. Justice for George Floyd, for some of them folks, unfortunately, was the destruction of stores and businesses. So the Black families who got up that next morning, who needed to buy milk, who needed to buy formula, who needed to buy diapers, had to, if they could, go 10, 12 miles across town. Pastor Peggy Shapiro, I almost said Pastor Peggy, Rabbi Peggy Shapiro. She went in, got some of her friends in the Jewish community. They donated, got money, rented a moving van, bought several $1,000s worth of goods, and brought them to some of those communities that were impacted. Pastor Corey, when that happened, what were you thinking, sir?
Well, you know, when the protests and riots broke out, I was devastated. You know, my heart was broken because you're right. They destroyed so many businesses. Some of those small Black businesses that they destroyed aren't even coming back to our neighborhood. We're just now really getting a few of the Walgreens back that were destroyed. Everything was taken out of them. One of the grocery stores, we already live in a desert, a food desert. One of the grocery stores it's just now really getting back online. And to have Peggy and individuals, supporters, to put up vehicles and vans of Pampers and formula, it was a blessing for us, because we were already starting to give out thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of food, and people needed those baby supplies. And so it became a tremendous blessing for a whole lot of mothers who were having a difficult time getting Pampers and formula and all that, the necessities, wipes for their kids. So I will never forget that. That was just an outright move of compassion.
What has been extremely important to us over the years, everyone, and we've seen the work, and I know Pastor Corey can attest to this, is that there are, unfortunately, again, you have two sides. People, again, who want to help the way they want to help. But then you also have the sincere ones who want to help by asking, right? Not by dictating, but by coming in and saying, pastor or community leader or whoever you are, what can we do? When we talk about IBSI's P.E.A.C.E initiative, the Plan for Education, Advocacy, and Community Engagement, connecting the Black and Jewish community, there's Africa-Israel synergy, all of these things that those ambassadors will learn. They'll travel to South Africa, they'll travel to Israel, they'll bring all that knowledge and everything to their communities. And one of the things that our ambassadors will do, one of the key things, they will go to the community leaders and find out what can be done, right? How do I come? How do I help? What is it that I can do? How can I engage the Jewish community along with this effort that's actually going on? Tell us what to do. We have found that those are the people who are the most helpful, because they're the ones who are willing to listen. Now, let me pause right here, give this commercial break. Someone say, what is Pastor Corey's page, Facebook page? So now, those of you who are on the Instagram, IBSI staff, go ahead and put that on there in the chat. Pastor Corey's Instagram, his Facebook page, make sure you put that link on there. Make sure we add the other links as well, the Fox News one, as well as Project H.O.O.D. Let's keep those links on there fresh. Those of you who are on Clubhouse, there's a way that, Joshua, you know better Clubhouse better than me, son. Go ahead and put that on there, whatever links that we can add on there. Clubhouse does all these newfangled things. I mean, it's already new when they updated it. Now I'm really lost, Pastor, so I'm trying my best to follow it, but I see that there's ways.
Used to it too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want them to be aware of what Pastor Corey is doing. And I want to say this, I want to challenge those of you that are here. You may be community leaders yourself. You may be pastors, you may be rabbis. Share the information. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I'm about to preach, but I'm gonna hold my mule. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. Here's the thing. When you find righteous men and women doing the work, what you want to do is support them. You want to support them in prayer. You want to support them in encouragement. You want to support them with money. You want to support them with your time. You want to give of your strength. I keep hearing Rabbi Heschel's words about Dr. King when Dr. King was addressing the Rabbinical Assembly on March 25th, 1968, and he was the keynote speaker. And when Rabbi Heschel introduced him, he was introducing him as a great man, a great leader. Little did any of them know that 10 days after that meeting, Dr. King would be assassinated. He said, in a very rabbi sort of way, I can almost hear his voice reading the transcript, may everyone here, he said, he even said, may every Jew, he said, give up their strength to this great leader, Dr. King. Those words are so powerful. What Rabbi Heschel was saying was that, look at what this man is doing. Let's all do what we can to strengthen him. One of the things they say of the Jewish community, may you go from strength to strength. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to challenge you, whether you African-American, whether you're Jewish of any other of the communities, Mizrahi, Beta Israel, whoever you are, when you find people like Pastor Corey Brooks of Project H.O.O.D, you want to be aware. You want, if you do nothing else but share their link, share their information with other people, you expose other people to the work. And Pastor Corey, I'm gonna say, I know we talked about this a little before, not only are we believing God for the 35 million, we're believing even more so because Project H.O.O.D needs to be built to scale across the country. Pastor Corey, it's almost like you get ready to, I'm putting you on the hot seat, like you running for office, something like that. But Pastor Corey, tell the people why you believe, I know I believe, why do you believe that this needs to be built to scale? The lives that you've seen transform in real time. Why do you believe that Project H.O.O.D needs to be built to scale, sir?
Right, because, in every area, urban center across America, whether you're talking about Philly, LA, New York, New Orleans, Memphis, St. Louis, you'll find these same issues every single day, the ones that we're faced with here in the city of Chicago. So we believe that these principles will work wherever you take them. And we believe that we have a model that will work in any given city where you have especially young Black brothers who are struggling and trying to find their way. So we really want to take this model after we get this center up and really going. It's our desire to scale it and take it to cities where the work is needed, where the individuals are needed, so that we can continue the transformative work that is needed across America. So there's no doubt in our mind that these principles work. And there's no doubt in our mind that if given the opportunity, we can scale it. And thousands of people we help all across the country. And then that's when we can begin to really do something with our communities that's life-changing.
Whenever the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel has talked, whether we've had social media events or something like that, or the emailing out or whatever, whenever we've talked about our P.E.A.C.E initiative, Plan for Education, Advocacy, and Community Engagement, members of the Jewish community always contact us, whether it's by email, whether it's on social media, and they'll say, what can I do to help? This is one of the many reasons why our P.E.A.C.E initiative is so keen on focusing and working with leaders like Pastor Corey Brooks, Pastor Kevin McGarry out there in Oakland. There's other ones that are there that are different parts of the country. Why? Because they are doing the work, and often it is the way we answer that question in our organization. When they say, what can we do? We connect them with these leaders, with these ministries, with these organizations to positively impact on two levels, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, obviously to do the work, to help them do the work that's transforming lives, but also to steer them away from the Black Lives Matters, which are not trying to raising lots of money, right? Talking lots of stuff in Black empowerment, quote unquote, and Black consciousness. But the reality of it is that money is being used in other areas, not empowering these. Pastor Crooks will say, I'm gonna say it. He raised 35 million. We happen to know that Black Lives Matter done raised multiple times that, bunch of times, could have break my brother off a little something. No, what they doing? Buying houses, right? It's amazing. Patrice Cullors resigned after buying her fourth house, and folks are like, oh boy, the organization's gonna change. And then the news just came out, they bought another million, like I told you before, in Canada. So apparently it wasn't just her. It seems to be a systemic problem within the organization that, and newsflash, ladies and gentlemen, the midterm elections are coming up. You ain't heard from Black Lives Matter, but you're gonna hear about it in a moment, because they're gonna use the Black community for votes. They're gonna use the Black community for props. This is what's been going on since 2014. the tragedy of it is it's a multiple tragedy. And one of those is that here you have a Pastor Corey Brooks doing the work, walking the walk, talking the talk. And what happens is that the conversation gets hijacked by things like how much money Black Lives Matter has, whether or not it's good to support the nuclear family, whether or not it's good education and education choice, these types of things, which are already settled, already. Pastor Corey, I'm already in trouble. Let me keep going. Say one more thing. You, on your many rooftop revelations, you addressed education and you addressed the watering down of standards. I believe my home state, from where I used to live, California, there was one they dropped the grades F and D and that type of class. Talk about education and what your philosophy is, sir.
Yeah. So the last thing we need is anyone trying to lower our standard so that we can achieve. If anything, we don't need anyone making excuses. We need them to keep the standard, and we need to rise to the standard. Culturally, we've always been a people to try to rise to the standard. But there are those individuals who think that they are assisting us and helping us by reducing the standards or by removing the standards. But that does nothing but cripple our community even more. As I said earlier, anytime you have 4% and 6% proficiency levels in reading and math, the last thing you need to be doing is saying to someone, okay, let us help you and remove these barriers by lowering the standards. You can't achieve, you can't make it, so we're going to remove it for you. We need to understand that we can achieve, that we can make it, but it takes hard work, it takes discipline, it takes parental involvement, all the things that are necessary for children to achieve. But this movement that we see going across America, in not too far from here, where Northwestern University is located, they have this movement to remove honor status, because they feel it discriminates against Blacks. So what you're really saying is that we are not smart enough to become honor students. Therefore, you must remove this honors code or honor society or honor system so that we can be on the same level. That does not put us on the same level, and it only cripples us even more.
Pastor Corey, again, you've been doing the work there for 2 decades now, sir, with New Beginnings. Obviously, your ministry, you began pastoring before then, but almost 20 years. When is the anniversary, Pastor? When was the 20 year? When is that mark, Pastor?
It was November 3rd of 2020. So okay. November is my month.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I see. Yes, sir. Pastor, when you've spoken out on these things, you've gotten pushback, sometimes some very, very nasty pushback, right? You've addressed these things, but you've been out there, you've placed yourself out there, even though you've gotten pushback, some very, very negative responses at times, attacks, all those types of things, Pastor. Why is it important to you to continue to do the work? And because, Pastor, let's be real, you could just do the work, keep your head down and not say anything, right? You could just do the work right there, continue to transform lives, but not so much speak and make it vocal. Why is it important for you to people to hear the message as well as what you're doing on the ground?
Well, one, I want to make sure that individuals who think that they can destroy me or cancel me because of my thoughts, I want to let them know that I'm not going anywhere. You don't scare me. I'm not afraid, and I'm not going to be destroyed or canceled because of my different point of view. Secondly, it's important that I model before people what I believe in, and the message that I believe resonates with people that it will help. And so thirdly, not only do I believe that it will resonate with the people that it will help, and not only do I believe that I need to be vocal and as outgoing as possible, but as a society, we cannot allow people to try to make us believe that there's only one way of thinking in our community. And a lot of times they want to destroy you or take you out or remove you because you're going against the status quo. You're bucking the system. And we have to continue to do that, because if not, we're going to continue to be taken advantage of in our community or looked over. And neither one of those is good. I tell people that one party takes advantage of us, another party just looks over us. And we cannot afford for that to happen. And so that's the reason why I'm so vocal and adamant about what I believe, and I'm not going to be quiet about it. I'm going to speak it from this rooftop. I'm going to write about it. I'm going to write op-eds about it. I'm going to do blogs about it. I'm going to do everything I can, because people need to know that there are individuals who think like I think, and not just me, but there are a lot of people who are agreeing from our community with our way of thinking. They just have never been given the opportunity because they've been ruled out by calling them Uncle Toms or coons or sellouts. And that's what they do anytime they can't debate you in real thought. They call you Uncle Tom or coon or sellout.
Which, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to wrap it up here in a little while, but I want to take all Pastor Corey's time. But again, because I do want to say the last couple of things. The last point that he just made, that when someone like a Pastor Brooks stands up and makes the comments about education, about family, about entrepreneurship, even about criticizing, very vehemently criticizing organizations like Black Lives Matter, what has become the knee-jerk reaction, unfortunately, from people who are uninformed, is to call them names, right? You need to understand that when you hear that, like as he said, those are people who can't debate the issues, or are afraid, or as the Booker T. Washington said, don't want their money messed with, right? So what happens is that person, like someone like a Pastor Brooks, who gets attacked for that because he's telling the truth, and that truth is painful. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that when those kind of attacks are coming at a Pastor Brooks, you're talking about someone who's not just articulating the issues, he has skin in the game. He's there. He lives and works and does the work in this. This is his community it is his community where he lives with his family, and he is invested in making a difference. And he is changing lives. When we said that, well, that's not a little thing, ladies and gentlemen. People's lives have been changed. They've been given opportunities. They've been given a light. There's a light that has shined in a way that they were by themselves or marginalized, disenfranchised, and the empowerment that has come through Pastor Brooks, through Project H.O.O.D and his amazing staff that's there, that needs to only be strengthened. It needs to be encouraged. It needs to be poured into with resources, all of these things. So you need to understand that when he's speaking out, he's also taking that risk because people are coming against, but because of his love for his community, he continues to do what he's doing, and he's seeing those lives change there on the ground. I want to say this too, Pastor, you did this video. Joshua, make sure you put the video up there with Ami Horowitz. It's called Inside Black Lives Matters. I guess it's done about a year ago or so. Pastor Brooks is featured in that as well, so that you can see that video, because he gives you some statistical and some practical information about it. He talks to you about the effect of it on the ground there in Chicago. Pastor Brooks, I'm going to have to let you go here in a little bit. Again, we could talk all the time. We have to do this from time to time, Pastor. I know you do a fireside.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, man, I thank you. Thank you again. I told you I was going to try to get back out there. February is my birthday month. I was going to try to get back out there beforehand. You know what's funny? I got to fly out to Denver. I'm going to figure out a way that I can stop by Chicago. My wife's probably listening to this. I headed to Denver the last weekend of this month. Somehow I'm going to have to do me a little route through O'Hare and come out there and take a minute and everything, slap Brian, high five, and eat a little, to get some more. What's that? The chicken that we have from the brother on the truck?
Harold's Chicken.
Man, come on now. So yes, sir. We're going to have to figure out a way to do that, Pastor Brooks. And while we're continuing to let the people know, I want to say this to everyone again. Please go to Project H.O.O.D, projecthood.org. You'll see the links there, projecthood.org. Those of you on the app there on Clubhouse, so that you can check out the work. Yes, sir.
Yep. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, Pastor Brooks, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I'm glad that you're here. It will be on my Instagram page. This will stay on the Facebook page as well, so you can continue to share it. And I just found out that Clubhouse records, so apparently people can go there as well and continue to hear it and follow the work of Pastor Corey Brooks. We'll be giving you more information about the P.E.A.C.E initiative, plan for education, advocacy, and community engagement. I hope that I made it even more clear about why the P.E.A.C.E initiative works with people like Pastor Corey Brooks, because of the work that's being done on the ground and wanting people to know about it. And in our quest to continue to strengthen the ties between the Black and Jewish community, we want our Jewish brothers and sisters and other people to know what's going on in cities like Chicago, where Pastor Brooks, someone like a Pastor Brooks, like a Kevin McGarry out there in Oakland and others that you will meet, so that you can be a part of a work that's transforming lives. So we appreciate you all for coming. Thank you all so much. Pastor, we'll talk to you again, hopefully really soon, sir.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And thank you all for being for giving me the opportunity, giving me a platform to air out my thoughts and viewpoints and opinions. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Josh, I'm gonna give you, I believe I gave you the screen thing there. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. We hope to talk to you all again soon. You'll be hearing from IBSI later on this week as well. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.